morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. I fully recognize that I stand between you and the rest of your day. It occurred to me that at the very beginning, when Linda shared the number 227, and as I look around, that 227 represents the body of our church. And what we see today are really kind of the bones of the church. And some of us may feel like the old bones, but still the important folks that are here. The message I'm going to share with you today is not only an update on our pastor hiring process, but it's also an exhortation to reach out. And I'm speaking not only to the folks here today, but through the power of technology, hopefully able to reach beyond the sanctuary today and to those members of our congregation who are not here today and can hear these words as well as to where we're at. I really do want to begin by thanking you for taking the time to be here today. Your presence here today matters a great deal. We are at an important juncture in our church history. There is challenging work ahead, not only for our church leadership, but for each one of you as well. The process of hiring a called pastor requires the input and effort of everyone. And now is the time to embrace what is happening and not shy away. This session is asking you, and I personally implore you, do not disenfranchise yourself from this process, from our future, only because a few things have been a bit different than they were before. Over the coming months, each one of you in some way will have a chance to lay your hands upon the future of our church. And when your moment arrives, be not afraid. Be bold. God may be speaking to you and to our church through you. Your words, your ideas, your thoughts, inspired by God, may be the spark that lights the fire of enthusiasm and carries our church in a brand new direction. God may be speaking to you. There's some work that needs to be fulfilled and done for God's purpose. How unfortunate it would be for all of us if you do not share what God has laid upon your heart. As we move towards our future, we need to select a leader. Someone that has the passion and experience to help us fulfill what we as a church family have collectively determined to be God's mission for us. Before we seek out a called pastor, we must first examine who we are. What is God calling us to be? And where is God calling us to go? These are not easy questions to answer. But without these questions being answered first, we will not have a clear picture of the skills and experience we are looking for in a called pastor. As I shared with you last year, there are two big steps in hiring a called pastor. Step number one, hire a transitional pastor that can lead us on this journey. And step two, hire a called pastor. We were fortunate to have been blessed with having a previous pastor for over 30 years, which means this is a new experience for us, but is not new for the Presbyterian Church as a whole. From years of experience, they have created a proven process, a roadmap, if you will, that identifies the best possible steps to follow and hire a pastor that is the best fit for our church. I'd like to share with you a picture of what it looks like and where we are at in that process. If you'll turn your attention to the screen. The roadmap I referred to consists of 21 different steps. It begins with having a strong foundation in place and continues with our effort to honor God with our work. So you can quickly see that this process can be characterized more as a marathon and not a sprint. We began this journey in earnest last September when we asked Pastor Yvette to lead us through this transition. It may seem longer than that because Pastor Scott retired last spring, but if you stop and think for a moment, Pastor Yvette has only been here about 160 days. It simply takes time to step in and start to figure things out. And it is even more difficult for a transitional pastor to step into a situation where we, as a church, have had 30-plus years experience to sink into our own comfort zone. Every little change or attempt to try something new seems radical. This actually is part of her responsibility to us as our transitional pastor. It is not possible for us as a church to continue exactly as we have in the past. Therefore, change is inevitable. And change is something we better get used to quickly. It is not possible to conceive that we can hire a called pastor and that person will do everything exactly the way it was in the past. So, anytime you see something new or experience something new or something done in a different way and you're not exactly sure how you feel about it, just think of it as practice for when the called pastor starts putting their own imprint upon our church. I draw your attention to the pyramid. The area highlighted in yellow represents where we are currently. There are 3 big bricks in this foundation that we must explore as a church. The first big brick, who are we? It is important to begin with an understanding of who we are as a church because that will allow us to do 2 things. What do we like about our current identity and that we want to keep and build upon? And what needs to change for us to grow and continue God's work in a way that allows us to continue as a church family? The second big brick, what is God calling us to be? This is where things start to become difficult very quickly. We know where we have been, but what is God calling us to be as a church? And this ties very closely with the third brick, where is God calling us to be? As mentioned earlier and multiple times today, I think it would be fair to say that as a relatively small church, we do a lot of mission work. That has been and most likely will be a large part of our identity going forward. But what does that mission look like in the future? Do we continue to spread ourselves thin over a wide range of different missions? Or do we come together as a church and coalesce around one common goal? I don't know the answer to that question. That is what we as a church family need to collectively decide in the coming weeks and months. Once we have done the hard work of answering these questions, then suddenly things start to come into focus. We can form a pastoral nominating committee and provide clear guidance on what we are looking for in a called pastor based upon what the church has decided is important to us. Many of these 21 steps are what I would refer to as more technical in nature. They must get done, but involve more of the mechanics of hiring a called pastor. The real work lies in the foundation highlighted in yellow. Once a called pastor is hired, the work is not done. It has been highly recommended by Pastor Yvette that we put in place a support network for the new pastor, which will allow them to ramp up more quickly, but also to be a source of encouragement when needed. And of course, we must always remember to keep all of this in proper perspective. We all want a church that we enjoy attending, to find fulfillment and fellowship, but the church is not just about seeking spiritual entertainment. There is real work to be done on earth as it is in heaven. What can you do right now to get involved? First, pray. Ask for guidance for our church, for session, and ask God for help in knowing how you can be an important part of our future. Talk to your adult children. We need to learn from them. Ask them what would inspire them to get more involved in our church. Or if they are already active and involved, what is it that appeals to them? Think about what is important to you. How can you make an impact? Look around. What needs do you see in our community that could be met? Be open to discussion with church leadership. If you're not comfortable expressing your thoughts in a group, then seek out a member of session, your deacon, your pastor, or even better, if someone asks you to meet and talk about what's important to you, take them up on their offer. You can read this book, Canoeing the Mountain. This is a book on churches in transition, and each member of session has read this book as to help frame the conversation going forward and to have the proper perspective in place when it comes to hiring a called pastor. And then finally, on February 27th, this coming Thursday, Session is hosting a workshop to seek input from all church members on how to answer the 3 big brick questions. As I mentioned in the beginning, your presence here today matters. You matter. Embrace this moment in our church history. We each have been afforded a tremendous gift, a chance to lift your voice and be heard. Be not afraid. Be bold. Be present. Be heard. Thank you.